Hey folks, Triple Crown here, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is a round 12 summary of the Global War 1939 series. It was one heck of a round, lots of dice rolling, lots of key battles, lots of things happened that were very unexpected. And just wanted to point out something that I actually, concluding the Italian turn, and this is a playtest, folks, but I had made a mistake in terms of not declaring a key battle, which the Italians definitely would have rollen. Now, in this stack of stuff that was here, there was, I don't know, 55 German units or something like that. There was a very small, tiny looking Italian Cara Amato light armor. And why was that significant? Well, there was one Cara Amato here. There was a Russian lone infantry in Oleg Kursk and a fortification. And that meant if the tank rolled and scored a hit, that basically it was a free path for the Germans to have all of their fast movers go and liberate Moscow. So I rolled it. I wish I could have rolled all these battles because they were it was insanity. Anyways, the Russians liberated Moscow, or captured Moscow, and their infantry, they had 32 infantry here, and they wanted to kill as many Russians follow-up, so they sent their infantry into Kharkov, 32 infantry. They scored about 7 hits. Unfortunately, they lost all of their guys, but they did capture Moscow. And in doing that, why that was effective, because they would not have been able to make it to Stalingrad, but also they also had a chance at securing Leningrad. So the Russians were able to take or liberate Moscow back. However, it was a very dicey battle to get Leningrad back, and it came down to one armor remaining for the Russians. It was a battle of the ages, and something that I did not see. Now, folks, playing this game solo, and playing it, after long days at work, not as focused on each nation and all the nuances as I could have been or should have been. That guy's there. So just wanted to say that actually this guy's here. This territory has been liberated. So there was errors made on both sides, and that was a significant one. So the Germans knew that the Russians would have been able to liberate Moscow. However, it probably gave them a fair shot at securing Leningrad. So that happened there. That was a significant battle. And something else happened. The Cara Amato did its job again, the Italian light armor. So the battle for Paris. Now what happened here? Well, first the British came in and they rolled horribly in round 1. So they were supposed to be the can opener, and I think they rolled about 7 hits with about 40 units or whatever it was, 30 units, and got wiped off the board. The Americans came in next, and they survived Paris with 5 armor left, and because they liberated Paris, they were able to get 4 free infantry, and the Italians came in after with 4 fast movers, mechs pulling artillery, and 3 infantry, 2 light armor, a tactical bomber, and a regular bomber, and they survived with 1 armor. So that was crazy. So Paris was liberated, and it flips back to the Italians. Now, in this, we've changed what happens when Paris is liberated. When it's liberated, the first time, and the Axis take it back, all the money is returned to the bank. So Italy does not collect the money for recapturing Paris. However, it's a significant battle. Now, I forgot to mention that Germany, because they captured Moscow and they were able to intercept the Lend-Lease money from America, or at least 10 IPP worth of it, half of it, they have 146 IPP to spend. In this game, I was focused on saving Paris. Wasn't sure if it could happen while capturing Moscow. at the same time. Now, a few things could have been done differently to do different things, like I could have reinforced Orlay Kursk so the Italian tank couldn't have gone through. However, I'm pretty satisfied with this battle here. Now currently, Britain as a non-com, they dropped off another 10 infantry. They've lost all of their aircraft. They have no aircraft left. America, is nowhere to be seen. At least they purchased another 8 infantry and eight medium tanks to come over next turn. However, Germany now has $146 to spend next turn, and that's a problem for the Allies in Western Europe. That's a major problem, and it's a problem up here. If you see, yes, they were able to liberate Leningrad for one turn. However, these 2 infantry here can go capture, because Russia did not have any money, they can go actually take this factory in Karelia next turn and take back Leningrad, and there's not a thing the Russians can do about it. This factory would be downgraded to a minor, and if the Russians take it back, guess what that happens? That means the factory is destroyed, and because Moscow and Leningrad were under German control, that meant that Sweden became pro-Axis. So now Germany just inherited this two coastal battleships, a destroyer and a submarine, and all of these units here in Sweden. They're not able to get to Spain yet, but however, they do no longer. I think it's going to remain pro-Axis now. So Spain is now pro-Axis. So if the Italians or the Americans Italians or Germans can get in there, that is a major problem. Lots of surprises here on the western side of the board. Over here in Calcutta, yes, I did not predict it happening, but the Japanese were successful. I don't know why I thought that it was going to be safe, because there was about 32 British units there. Well, Japan attacked with 20 ground units, and I think it was 14 aircraft in total. And they lost 2 to AAA fire, and in the end, they had surviving 5 aircraft and 2 medium armor. However, the British probably will be able to liberate it on the following turn. But that was a battle that I did not predict. Normally, if it's a battle that's dicey, I would have perhaps pulled some more of the British units out, or had these aircraft in position to take it back on the following British turn. I did not do that. So folks, that's a little bit of a lesson there. It's not everything is set in stone. The Japanese did roll very well in the first round of combat, and the British rolled poorly. Their fortification, units bumped up to 5, and their armor did not roll very well. And the Japanese Banzai attack and their SNLF on the amphibious attack, even though they're rolling at 2s, they scored quite a few hits, and along with their aircraft, who all were successful. So that happened there. However, it was not all good news for the Japanese. The Japanese did take the Philippines. However, the Anzac were coming from a naval base, and they tried to set up a naval blockade. They did have ships here as well, and they had 4 ground units that took the Philippines. However, they were not able to hold on to it. So the Philippines was liberated by the Australians and New Zealanders. So that happened there. That was pretty significant. They were able here to save Singapore. Now, when Anzac was over here at this naval base, they were not sure if they should take a poke at Philippines or Singapore, and it looked like Philippines was the softer target, even though they had to clear about 7 or 8 ships in the sea zone to do, and the Japanese just rolled poorly. That naval battle, they rolled poorly. They decided not to go for the Philippines because the Japanese landed 2 bombers there, and they had an air transport, so that was all the fodder. However, they had a pillbox there, which is an automatic kill, and they had 3 other ground units there. And the Australians were only attacking with 4, and they did not like the odds on that battle. So currently, the other surprise battle was the battle for Hong Kong. It just got lucky dice for the Japanese, and which kind of made up for the bad dice in Calcutta. They attacked Hong Kong with 3 Chinese infantry and the American Chinese fighter, the P-40 Warhawk, and the Japanese had 3 ground units there. And I think it went 6 rounds of combat. The Japanese did score a round on the first hit, or the Chinese. And after that, it was a couple rounds of nothing. And then all of a sudden, the Chinese were successful. So Hong Kong has been liberated. Now, what happened up here in Tokyo, because the Japanese pulled their whole navy away to try and set up a naval blockade, which didn't work. So what was the point of it anyways? So up here, the Americans, they did the math. Now currently in Tokyo, Japan only had 2 AAA there at the start of the turn. They built a pillbox, a fortification, 2 SNLF, which defend better on Japanese territory, 5 regular infantry, and 3 aircraft. And the Americans didn't even bother taking a poke, even though they could have hit it with their entire Air Force coming from Midway. They did a landing in Sapporo instead. Up here in the northern China, the Russians came down and took some of the Manchuria and northern Manchuria. So that happened there. The Chinese now are spread out. Now currently, for the British to take back Calcutta, if it was to go to round 13, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ground units and 7 aircraft. So the Japanese probably would not be able to hold it. The British also built a Lancaster and medium bomber, a Wellington bomber. They could also hit Calcutta on next turn. So that's happening there. The Italians are, despite losing Africa early in the game, they are doing well. They've got a little bit of a healthy economy now. They have Greece under their control. They've got Bulgaria, and they've still got all of the mainland of Italy, and they've got Marseille and Paris. So they're doing healthy. I'm almost tempted to continue playing this game. However, I do have some other stuff that I need to be doing, so I'm going to have to focus on that. But I will be doing a conclusion summary of the game and some final thoughts. The British, their medium tanks over here in Kharkov came down here to Uzbekistan because who knows what's going to happen if this, what the Japanese are going to do. So these armor here are going to be going to blitz towards Calcutta eventually, or maybe into China. In Moscow, the Russians still have a healthy army left, despite having no money to spend this round. They still have about 19 armor, 3 artillery, and about 15 infantry left. So they're hunkered down. 1 aircraft here and Novgorod. So that's all that's left for. But it's going to be interesting now. Like next turn. Nobody's going to be able to, liberate or take Paris. They just don't have the firepower to do it. And that means what's going to happen when these Swedish boats come across, and Germany's going to get rich. So very, very interesting. Now all these territories, when Paris was liberated, so they all flipped back. So all these guys now are free French again. And there's another free French guy down here in Saigon. This territory goes back as well. So very interesting when Paris flips. Madagascar's gone back. So that's what happens when Paris is liberated. So that is the end of round. Canada up here, they built a fighter and a tactical bomber to maybe land on a U.S. carrier next turn to reinforce it. The only German aircraft that are survived are in Finland, the 2 medium bombers. They used their medium bombers to kill as much Russian stuff, so there wouldn't be much of a follow-up. So they were successful there. And that is the summary of round 12. So thanks for watching, folks. Look forward to seeing your comments and the conclusion of Hilltop's game And I will be doing a conclusion summary following up. Thanks for watching.